All right, welcome back to another episode of Two Plain Sports, and it is going to be a big one, jam-packed this week. We're going to quickly recap the Bedlam game. It was not the best outcome for the Sooners, but there were a couple positives in there, and we'll touch on that. And then the biggest story of the day, Lincoln Riley packing up, going to Southern California to coach the Trojans, and what the impact is for recruiting, rumors on potential coaches, our coaching wish list, and what the staff is going to be like, because there already is some information coming out on the coaching staff and where they are moving now that Lincoln is leaving as well. Before we get into it, we want to let you guys know that we really appreciate everything you've done for us. Definitely something that I was thankful for over the Thanksgiving weekend, seeing the growth, all of your comments, all the love that we get from you guys. It's awesome. So keep doing what you're doing. Make sure you're liking the video, comment, subscribe, turn on that notification bell, because every single person that does so helps us out a lot. And we, again, really appreciate it. So let's get into it. So first, let's do a quick thing on the Bedlam game. We don't have to be on here too long, but I think it is still important to talk about. The Sooners fell to the Cowboys in a heartbreaking loss at Stillwater. There, couple of big missed calls and some mistakes were made by Oklahoma. But before I go any further, Brum, you want to let us know what you thought about the game?
Yeah, I mean, I was there. Obviously didn't end the way we wanted it to, but in a way it wasn't surprising. And I think this has been one of my biggest gripes of this season, and something that has been bothering me is the special teams have been killing me, and they have been killing the Sooners. I mean, we could basically say that the game was lost because of special teams, because you look at it, OU gave up a kickoff return for a touchdown, and then the muff punt and then that was recovered by OSU at like whatever the 4 or 5 yard line. And then obviously, but OU was able to get a muff punt and score a touchdown. So 2-1 right there. I mean, that's 7 more points in favor of the Cowboys. And I just feel like there really hasn't been a replacement for Shane Beamer, and there just wasn't really a focus on us on the special teams this year. The situational awareness wasn't there. I don't understand why you would tell anyone to field a punt within the 5 yard line, because what difference does it make if they catch the ball at the 4, or they down you at the 2? I mean, the risk reward there is just not worth it. I mean, what's the difference of a yard or two? Maybe at the 10 yard line, I see why you would field a punt. But man, when you get down by that 5 yard line, just let it go. It'll probably go through the end zone and you get a touchback. And if you don't, then you don't even have to worry about a muff punt and fumble. So that was that. I think, they played well. The defense, really, if you think about it, the 14 points right there. I mean, the defense gave up 23 points. I mean, they played really well. They caused turnovers. They got after Spencer Sanders. They forced a fumble, but they were unable to recover it. So, I mean, that could have been another turnover right there. I felt like they still could have ran Kennedy Brooks more. I know he had over 100 yards, but I just felt like he could have had close to 200 if they would have kept, if they would have been more committed to him. But I think overall, it's not surprising to me. And I think the news today has made a lot of sense of this season. It just has felt like that how well the Sooners have been prepared just hasn't been as great. I feel like the team had a gut feeling or a vibe that Lincoln, something was going on. I just think the way that this team has played all year is just finally made sense. And, the Sooners got them, or the Cowboys finally, got them, and so did the Baylor Bears. I mean, this team typically has progressed and gotten better by November, and I didn't see anything. I just felt like there just wasn't it. I just don't know. But it didn't really surprise me overall. But really, it's the special teams. And that was the difference of the game, really.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I know even I thought that the refs made some questionable decisions to finish out the game with picking up the flag on what could have been an unsportsmanlike on OSU after pushing Kennedy Brooks to the ground a few seconds after the whistle. And they saw it right the first time, and then they said, just kidding, wasn't bad enough for us to be throwing a flag, so they picked it up. And then on the next drive, there was a blatant pass interference, but though at the end of the day, we can't let refs control the outcome. And if special team doesn't make those two big mistakes, especially with the Eric Gray, like as soon as when we go back and look at special teams before when Beamer was the coach, who hasn't been replaced. Technically, Joe John Finley's got his title, but it doesn't seem like he focuses on special teams. He does H-backs and tight ends more focus on them. But uh, CD Lamb used to just let punts fly over his head once they got, and he would just stand at the 10-yard line. If anything was behind that, he wasn't even gonna get near it. And any other returner that we had before CD, same thing. And now we have Eric Gray chilling at the 5-yard line and letting it get through his hands. Like he should have caught it, yes, but that's an avoidable mistake if you just don't sit back there. Like the worst case scenario, they down us at the 1, but we still have the ball. We have a chance to make a play or at least punt it away to give them bad field positioning on their next drive. In best case, he catches it and we're down at the 5. Like, what's the biggest difference? And with the kick coverage, it was just terrible. And that wasn't the first time. I mean, the fact that they didn't hit home on the previous kick, because if I remember correctly, the kick before they returned it for the touchdown, they got almost to midfield. It was somewhere in the 40,
Mm-hmm.
40
Yeah, it's
yard.
like 40 something
Yeah.
yards. Yeah.
So, it wasn't a huge surprise that they got it. It was just really disappointed that they didn't make the adjustment when it was necessary. Like, how
Mm-hmm.
do you let him get all the way to the, somewhere between the 40 and 50, and then you don't make the adjustment? Isn't something that you immediately want to address. And again, with the news that came out today about Lincoln, maybe that does speak to some of the poor game adjustments and timing of those
Yeah.
adjustments, game management situation. So maybe he already had one foot out the door from a long time ago. But at the end of the day, like you said, there were some good spots. The defense did play well. We'll see how they are a lot next year. The bowl game will be a lot of their last games with the Sooner uniform on. So we will have pretty much a fresh look to the defense next year. And the offense, this entire team is going to kind of be hard to predict at this point for next year because of Lincoln leaving, graduations, early draft entries. We'll just see. It's kind of tough to predict. I mean, our offense is still pretty young, but if any of them decide to leave, enter the transfer portal, then they have the right to do so. And unfortunately, that's just kind of what the transfer portal has done to college football. Kids can leave whenever they want at this point. So hopefully they don't. Hopefully they were committed to the university and have loved being Sooners over their time so far. But disappointing game. We at this point we just got a bowl game to look forward to, and hopefully we can win that under Bob's leadership. In however long, in about a month.
Yeah. And I mean, the last thing I'll have to say about the special teams, I mean, not only the kick returns, that one for a touchdown, like that 40-yard line one, but man, it's also, there were times where it seemed like either Marcus Major or Gray on kickoffs, they were unsure of what to do. I mean, there were a few times where I felt like the guys up front, for the protection and blocking were like not going to block. And then Marcus Major was thinking about not going, and then he went, and then he got tackled at like the 15 and then, that's a negative 10, that's 10 yards of difference if you could just, been a touchback. And I feel like that's a hidden stat that a lot of people don't think about. I mean, 10, 15 yards of difference on kickoffs is a huge field position battle. And I just think that's a hidden stat and hidden things that the attention to detail, I just feel like, especially in that aspect, just wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you hit it on the spot. This somehow is the least important story of today, the day after Bedlam. Do you have anything else you want to say about the game before we get into the hot topic of the weekend?
No, I mean, I just think it's going to be interesting to see the Big 12 championship. You know, Cowboys played well. Their defense is great. Um, they just beat us, and that's just the way it is. You can't beat them every time. You can't win them every time. So it happens.
Yeah, and hope for their sake, hopefully they don't just buck it up in the Big 12 championship because they barely have a chance of making it to playoffs as it is. And I believe that if they win the Big 12, they deserve to be in. But Notre Dame has a bigger brand. If Alabama finds a way to win against Georgia, neither Oklahoma or State or Notre Dame will be considered. So some obstacles that still stand in their way, but we'll just see how the Big 12 ends up for them because there's still a chance that they screw it up for themselves. We'll just see.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Lincoln decided to add insult to injury just a few short hours after the game ended. Less than 12 hours, I believe, maybe about 12 hours after the game ended, he decided, you know what, screw this. Let's go ahead and just get out of here and start packing. And he took the job to be the new head coach of USC. It was definitely a surprise. When I got the notification that he was targeted by USC, I took it the same way as I got when I saw the notifications months ago that LSU was targeting him. Last night after the game, he directly said he was not LSU's next head coach. And they asked him about administration, and he said that they work together and they would continue to work well together moving forward. A lot of fans are pissed at him. They've called him some expletives. I'm not going to say, even though I'm okay with cussing. Some of these things were a little far to say on the podcast, and others were saying that he really wasn't that good at his job anyways, and that they're fine with him leaving. The more I think about it, the more frustrating it is. But there are two different sides to it. It seems like Lincoln is leaving because of the move to the SEC, and if that is one of the reasons that he's leaving, then it really shouldn't affect us that much, because if he was scared of competing in a better conference or a bigger conference, then it really wouldn't have helped us if he stuck around once that move was made. So, maybe that's a good thing. On the other hand, it's rumored that he could have potentially gotten a big long-term deal with USC, and Oklahoma hasn't committed to him for a very long time. We just saw Mel Tucker get a 10-year deal with Michigan State, and it's possible that Lincoln's going to get the same at USC. So maybe having that stability with such a long-term contract was something that really attracted him, and Castiglione and the administration at OU were willing to do that for him. So that could have been another reason. At this point, all we know is what's out there, all the rumors, but disappointing. What do you think, bro? There's a lot
Yeah.
to unravel here.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. Overall, I will say level of disappointment, is through the roof. When I got the notification, I was just sick to my stomach. But it it hurts because I felt like this program was really getting close again. I really felt like it was really on the right track, and I think there's more to the story. Maybe it was that they wouldn't commit to him long term. Maybe there wasn't a commitment to more money for him to go hire more people or pay more people, or maybe he wanted various other things that OU just was not willing to commit to him, and because they never thought he would leave. And maybe Southern Cal said, we've got literally unlimited money out here and you can do whatever you want. And that's probably what it is. Part of it. And I do think the SEC has something to do with it. I think he's just looking at it as, well, one, the brand of, the Trojans is just as big as OU. It's a premier job, at least as far as the brand goes. You go play in the Pac-12, all you're competing against is Oregon right now, which Cristobal might be a Sooner target. I don't know. And if he left and went to be the Sooners head coach, I mean, there would be no one out there outside of Chip Kelly. And then you look at the recruiting area. I mean, you are in Southern California, and the amount of talent in Southern California and the West Coast in general is through the roof. And you're going to be able to keep those kids at home, and you don't even have to go very far. And he's probably thinking, what's the path of least resistance to the playoffs? The Pac-12. I can recruit the kids in my backyard that are extremely talented, both on the offense and defense. And I get long-term commitment. I can hire whoever I want. I've got unlimited money. It's beautiful weather. Why go? Why stay at a place that won't commit to me, and I'm going to the SEC, and then I might not be able to, win every year and go to the playoffs every year? I think that's really what it was. But man, I tell you what, you want to talk about burning some bridges, and this is a move that can either damage his legacy. I mean, at least it's damaged with Oklahoma, but it could ruin him if things don't go well in the first few years at Southern Cal, because if it doesn't work out for him, I think he'll look back on this and might regret it, or he might not. Like, this is a very much a career defining move of what he's doing. And it very well could work out for him, or it could blow up in his face. I don't know. It's tough to say.
Yeah, I never I thought about his legacy and what it means to him, but you're right. If it doesn't work out, not only will he be going to coach after this, either as an offensive coordinator, as a head coach at a much smaller program that doesn't have the brand that he has, he'll have to restart and be in a position maybe like Fickle, where he has to prove himself. And then maybe he can start getting big programs again. But I could pretty much guarantee that Oklahoma is not going to be coming back to that guy ever, even if he's desperate enough and says he wants to be at Oklahoma again. Musk, Castiglione, and the entire administration signs off on it, even after Castiglione's gone, that dude's not coming back. And
No.
to be honest, I mean, it does suck that he left. I'm not going to say that it wasn't frustrating or sad, annoying. Every negative emotion that probably could have come out did come out whenever I saw it was a real thing. He was moving on to USC, but also there's so much that Oklahoma can pull out of this. I mean, we are going to the SEC. We still have that for recruiting, and we've got a completely new pool of players to recruit from. We can start establishing some roots on the East Coast, like we have been, thanks to Caleb Williams. Florida, we'll start putting some roots down there. I think at this point we've got to look for coaches that are willing to step up to the challenge, one, and two, have shown that they can recruit. We can't go after someone that hasn't had success in a big time at a big, maybe not a big time program, but hasn't had success and dominant success where they are. Guys like Bickle are, he's created a great program in Cincinnati, and they're potentially going to the playoffs. Imagine what he could do with the Oklahoma brand behind him. He's got Ohio roots, so he could steal some guys from the Big Ten. Thinking like guys like Dave Aranda or Joe Brady, they had success at LSU. They know what it takes to be successful in the SEC. So looking at guys like that, and Mario Cristobal, maybe he could come in and keep the roots that we have established on the West Coast and expand over to make it a national recruiting and not just spots throughout the country. So there's a lot of big names out there. I just don't know how they're going to approach this, because it's a really quick turnaround. The administration doesn't have the luxury like every other program around the country that has vacancies right now, where they've had weeks and some months to evaluate coaches, look at coaches that are open to interviews and all that stuff. We need a coach soon, because we've got National Signing Day coming up in less than a month, 2 or 3 weeks, and we have no captain of the ship. And kids do to pay attention to that. I mean, we're seeing decommitments already from some of the top talent in the 2023 class, from Trayon Webb and Brandon Ennis. And safe to say that Raleek Brown isn't going to be a Sooner. He'll probably stay home and be at USC. And who knows about Makai, DeAndre, and Malachi. I mean, I think if we get a guy like Joe Brady or Dave Aranda, Steve Sarkisian better look out, because Oklahoma is going to get their name in that Arch Manning pool, and hopefully we can. I know we'll be super late to that race, but being in Oklahoma would be much nicer than being at Texas. Even though Texas fans may disagree, we have more success, we have better talent right now, and at this point, a coach would just have to come in and keep things together. Don't let it go to shit, and then build from there. They've got a good base. They just can't mess it up.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like you said, the Sooners have already lost 2 commitments in the 2023, and Raleek Brown, I'd imagine, will be this week, if not tonight or tomorrow or very soon. But as fast as these kids can leave, kids can come, can join, because we're going to see some transfer portals, probably some players are going to be gone, they're going to go play elsewhere. But then there's going to be some kids that might see this as an opportunity to leave a program where they're at now and come play for the Sooners, because at the end of the day, Oklahoma is one of the premier programs in the country. It's a premier brand. And, I mean, it's like LSU, they were talking about, or what Chris McClellan said. Sorry, Chris McClellan said about Florida. They canned Dan Mullen, and he said that Florida's not going to hire a slouch, and he committed to Florida anyway. Oklahoma's not going to hire a nobody. I mean, yeah, it hurts right now and whatnot. We're going to, the Sooners are going to lose a few people, but I think you're going to see majority of the 2022 class is going to stick the course. I'm not saying all of them, but I kind of feel like you go hire someone with a big name. Maybe I don't know, maybe Cliff Kingsbury, but I have mixed emotions with him. Lane Kiffin, I don't know, Lane Train, he would be something else. I mean, he's already in the SEC, and he kind of knows what it is. Dave Aranda would be really interesting. I would feel like he would leave Baylor. I know he's supposed to sign a contract extension soon, but this opening might change his mind. And you get a defensive coach in there, I feel like that would do wonders for the Sooners. And I don't know who they could go hire for OC. I mean, I guess we haven't mentioned, but Bill Bedenbaugh, he's going to be gone. It seems like Alex Grinch might be going. I mean, so this is going to be probably a majority of the staff is going to turn over. But you get a good captain of the ship, Dave Aranda, he's going to probably keep most of these defensive guys. What I'm curious to see is how many guys actually still sign on National Signing Day, like the early National Signing Day, or do they wait till February?
Yeah,
it's going to be what I'm curious of.
That's going to be a big thing in the air over the next couple of weeks, because over this next week, like you said, we'll see a lot more kids make their mind on if they're going to decommit from Oklahoma and reopen their recruitment to other schools, or if they're going to stay the course. Hopefully, I think, like you said, and like we've mentioned in our recruiting videos, if you haven't checked them out, a lot of kids, when they go into the recruiting, they either make the commitment to the coach and the coaching staff, or they make the commitment to the school. And you put a great example. McClellan made the commitment to the school. I think Caleb Williams made his commitment to the University of Oklahoma, not Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley was just an added bonus. And I think after this year of experiencing what it's like to play for OU and be on the campus, and the love that he gets from the fans, I don't expect him to leave. The only quarterback going to USC that had an Oklahoma on his chest at some point was Spencer Rattler. And it makes sense for him. Things were rumored that he could potentially go to Arizona State because it's pretty much down the street from his parents' house. But I never thought that to make sense. Why not? I mean, he's still a talented kid. Schools are still going to want him, especially if they don't have quarterbacks like LSU, Clemson, Iowa. But why not just follow your head coach to go to Southern California? He's definitely a West Coast kid, probably excel in a culture like that, and he'll be a few hours from his parents, 2 or 3 hours max. And I mean, I'm in Phoenix right now, and they have small private like boutique airlines that can fly you to LA for like $100 on a private jet. Like, it's pretty easy to get to LA whenever you want from here, so they won't have issues getting to see their son if he does transfer and move with Lincoln at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and we're gonna probably have to stop our recruiting videos at least for a little bit. It's gonna be more of like updating and who's committing or who's decommitting and whatnot, because I feel like any and all the information that we've seen, we can throw that out the window, because you never know what's going to happen. So it's just, there's so much unknown, and this hasn't happened in 20 something years that the Sooners are actually, there's some unknown going on, before, since hiring Bob Stoops, it's been extremely stable. And then the transfer to, Lincoln Riley was extremely smooth, and the team got better. It's just, a lot of us haven't ever been in this position before. And I'll say it, we're both too young, and I've never known a school, OU, to have this much uncertainty, and uncertainty isn't fun with it. But at the end of the day, I'm thankful for what he did, and best of luck to him. But there's a lot of things that I liked about him, but there was a lot of things I didn't like about him, because I felt like the attention to detail, it's just little things like situational awareness, always worrying about the offense. And I just feel like that, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how much success or how well he's going to actually do at USC. I think he's going to do fine, but I don't think it's going to be, the grass isn't always greener. And you're going to be dealing with a lot of people with probably even more money in Southern California, and you might be getting more pressure. It might have to do more things for people out there, and it might not be all what it's cracked up to be and what they sold to him, because that program has chewed a lot of coaches up and spit them out. And not saying that he will be, but I don't know. There's a lot of unknowns going on right now.
Yeah, and the way he got the head coaching role, he had the confidence from Oklahoma legend and Bob Stoops. I mean, he had the confidence from Joe Castiglione and the administration at the time. And people loved him at the university, not just fans, but the people that higher ups at OU. And he burned a lot of bridges there. I mean, we mentioned that already, but it is when he would, I'm assuming that when he would run into some situations that he didn't like, he always had, and he wanted to step up and say something, they had his back. People are going to listen to Bob and Joe and the university president and Lincoln. They had his back no matter what. But now he's going to a place he doesn't have those kinds of relationships. I mean, right now they love him. He's the hottest thing at USC and probably in LA sports news right now. And as soon as we see with other schools, right? As soon as an AD's job is on the line or someone else's job is on the line and it has to do with football, the head coach is the first one that gets canned. And if he ever runs into situations like that where they don't have his back, he's going to be backed in a corner, and he might be jumping ship or he might get canned. And I'm not saying that I wish that upon him, because getting fired doesn't just affect him, it affects his whole family. And he does have a family he has to worry about. But the relationships that he had here, I think, and the relationships that coaches at the University of Oklahoma have with administration is what keeps the university so stable with our sports programs. And I think that's one good appealing thing for the coaching vacancy. I mean, guys can come in and know these guys have my back 100%, and no matter what happens, I can count on them to help me out with navigating the waters with the board of regents, with boosters, with with people that have some sort of monetary um, gain or say so in things. Like, these guys will have my back, and that's not always the case everywhere. That's why we mentioned that him going to LSU probably wouldn't make sense, because
Mhm.
even if you win a national championship there, they don't give a shit. You can be gone within the next 3 or 4 years. We just saw that to Coach O. He won one in 2019, right? He's gone already, and that's happened to other coaches at LSU. And I mean, I guess that's one good thing about USC. They do have extreme loyalty to coaches, no matter how bad they are. Clay Helton sucked for years, and they stuck to him for maybe 1 or 2 seasons too long, but they stuck with him. And I guess maybe that's something that did appeal to him. He does have um, success. He has shown success, and he can recruit in Southern California. He's already got roots there. But I think, to me, it also shows he's been out the door for a while. If we can all recall, he was gone the Tuesday before the Baylor game, and at the time it was just said he had personal matters to attend to. And I know we don't have facts, but I think it's I'd like to assume that that personal matter was, I'm going to meet USC representatives to start my contract negotiations with them. And it's shitty if that is what happened, because again, you have the entire fan base of Oklahoma, most of the state of Oklahoma, your administration all behind you, and you're building something great. I mean, we mentioned it in our recruiting videos. This was looking like it was going to be a dynasty, and every coach has their flaws, but he was doing amazing with recruiting. Kids loved him. When he spoke with them, when they visited campus, when he went to their high schools, a lot of kids fell in love with the prospect of going to the University of Oklahoma. And now he's thrown that to the side for himself and his career, and he's pretty much, I'm not going to say ruined, but he's definitely put a big hole in OU's future, and how we're going to recruit. We're going to be pretty much starting over with someone new. And you mentioned most of the staff is likely to follow him to USC, and that's not uncommon. Most of the time when a head coach leaves, he takes his staff with him. I think the only one we're gonna see coming back is Gundy, and hopefully we can keep DeMarco Murray. I think that guy is safe. Would have his job would be safe with the next coach. He's an Oklahoma legend, and Kale has been super stable with our program. So hopefully both of them stick around. And if Murray's still here and Kale's still here, I have high hopes about our recruiting future, because all the running backs were recruited by DeMarco Murray. I mean, with the exception of Raleek Brown, we have Sawchuk and Javante Barnes. Sawchuk as a verbal commitment now, and potentially Javante Barnes to commit during the All-American game just in a couple months.
Yeah. I mean, everything you said is 100. I agree with. I think everyone's in shock, including me. There's going to be multiple people that are going to want to coach the University of Oklahoma. This is not a program that you're going to have to beg people to come coach for. Just because Lincoln Riley felt like it was time for him to leave, I guarantee you there's going to be 5 people that are going to be like, yes, I want to coach for you. And this is going to be a place that kids are still going to want to come to. But it has probably set the Sooners back 2 or 3 years. And, I felt like the last 2 or 3 years, that's been Lincoln Riley building his I don't know, his reputation, kids are starting to trust him. The big time recruits are getting more interested. And even the defensive side of the ball, the kids were wanting to come play in that 2 or 3 year window. And I felt like the Sooners were just on the cusp of taking that next step. We're going to start over now, because there is a lot of talent on this team, but there's a chance that a lot of the talent leaves. But then there's a chance that the transfer portal brings in a lot of the talent that was leaving whatever program they're at. So it's going to be a 2 or 3 year deal. And then maybe by that time, it'll be to take the next step if we stay through the 2025 or June 1st, 25. That'll be the next step in the SEC. And it's going to be interesting to see what the Sooners are going to want to do if they're going to want to try to buy out early. I feel like Texas doesn't have any interest of trying to go there early after what happened this season. And I think now with this departure, I don't think the Sooners are in any rush to leave for the SEC. I feel like they're gonna probably push it to 2025. I mean, maybe not, but I feel like with the uncertainty and the time it's going to take for them to build up the rapport and get the staff figured out and get some couple classes of the coaches recruits in, and I don't know. I feel like they're going to push it off and wait on it, but maybe not. That's just my gut. Um, I don't know. The more we've talked, the more I kind of want Dave Aranda. That's kind of who I want. And the more I've been thinking about it, I don't necessarily really want the offensive guru of like a Cliff Kingsbury. There's something about Dave Aranda that I really like. I mean, he went into Baylor and has turned them into a potential Big 12 champion, New Year's Six Bowl team that not too long ago that I think they were like 1-9 in the COVID season. I
They're
mean,
bad.
yeah, they were horrible. And now all of a sudden they beat the Sooners and could beat the Cowboys and be Big 12 champions and go play in the New Year's Six Bowl. He's young, like you said. He coached at LSU. He has those ties of the SEC. I would be a big fan, and I would really like a defensive mind to really bring that back, because you can hire a hot shot OC to run a great offense. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. So like we can go into our coaching wish list, and I'll give a top
Mhm.
three and you can do top three or top five, whatever you want. But my number one is Aranda because of his proven success in the SEC. He turned around a Baylor program that was in the dump, and now he's made them prospective Big 12 champions. And if he was to continue there, he could probably continue to build that program to something good and potentially great. And we would give him a huge recruiting base with the name, just like Porter Moser. You're coming from a program that you built to be good, but with the Oklahoma brand will make you great. On that same note, Luke Fickell, another guy I would really like, even though he doesn't have any sort of like success in the SEC. He took a Cincinnati team in a Group of Five conference, and he's potentially about to put him in the position to compete for a national championship, which is extremely hard to do with this committee because of how subjective they are. And he's given them what they wanted to at least give them the possibility of being a top 4 team in the country right now. Having a guy like that, he can build a program. Again, the Oklahoma brand will help him out a lot. He's already recruiting 4-star kids to Cincinnati, which is tough to do when you're going up against Oklahoma's, Alabama's, everyone in the SEC practically, and big brands in the Big Ten and even in the Pac-12 to some extent. And then my third one would be Venables, and he's got ties to OU, and he's had success at Clemson. Really, him or Dabo, I think would be great to get. Both Dabo's got a great personality that kids take to in regards to recruiting, and Venables just has a proven track record of having a good defense. And again, I would much rather have a defensive mind. Look at who wins national championships. It's guys that can succeed and excel on the defensive side of the ball and coaching the defense. And you can hire a guy that knows an offense and can get creative with his play creation. It'd be great if we gave Kale the opportunity to be the OC under a new coach, kind of giving a promotion, showing him our loyalty. In a way, would also open up a door for DeMarco to get a promotion to, head scout or something, because he's done an amazing job at recruiting so far.
Yeah. I mean, so like we said, I think Dave Aranda, I've kind of talked myself into it. I think, and hearing what you had to say about him, I would put him at 1. I think 2, I would love to see Mario Cristobal. Cristobal, he's built a very solid. I mean, well, I mean, he kind of inherited a good program. I know they had a few, what was it? I forget who was before Cristobal. Willie Taggart, I think, was before him. And then it was Chip Kelly before that. But he's got that program in a really great spot. But I feel like they're a little bit at their ceiling, per se. I feel like he's struggling with the Pac 12, the late kickoffs, not quite the brand as like an USC. And I feel like if he moved to Oklahoma, he already has the recruiting ties. He recruits hard. And, he's landed a top, top linebacker, top defensive end, Kayvon Thibodeau, Justin Flo. I mean, he's landed big time defensive players. He's established. He's proven he can win. And I think if you're going for a safer bet, I feel like he's one of the safer bets, but it's just a matter of, is he open to it? I didn't think Lincoln Riley was open to anything, and here we are. So money might talk, and the potential brand and going to the SEC might be really appealing to him. 3, I'm going to say Lane Kiffin. Kiffin, I know he's had his ups and downs. He's a character. He's turned Ole Miss into a pretty good team. I think he's learned his lesson after his fiascos at a few stops with Tennessee and whatnot. Um, Oklahoma's a bigger brand than Ole Miss, and I feel like Oklahoma would fit him well. Um, I don't know. I mean, 4. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, I would say 4, but I know the offense would be really good, but I feel like he just couldn't put it all together at Texas Tech. But I got to cut him some slack because it is Texas Tech. I mean, the brand isn't the same. It's not apples to apples comparison there. Um, I don't know. I wouldn't be upset if Cliff Kingsbury was the head coach, because the offense would be great and Caleb Williams would probably be really enticed to stay, to play for a guy like that. But I have a hard time understanding why Kingsbury would be interested in leaving, with how good the Cardinals are in the NFL. Or maybe he just might not enjoy it. I mean, they're different coaches like different things. I mean, Nick Saban, he went to the NFL and came back, and he has zero interest in the NFL. Some coaches are NFL coaches and some are college coaches. So that could be potentially a reason. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, those are just our wish lists. Make sure you go down the comment, put your wish list, put your top 3, top 5, whatever you want. And if you want, give us a reason. We'll read them. It's always fun to do that. But I think it's also safe to assume that outside of Saban, James Franklin, Mel Tucker, and Kirby Smart,
And
every
Dabo
coach.
Sweeney.
I think even Dabo Sweeney should look, if he's open to moving, he should consider it, because the ACC is kind of shit. And I mean, I know that he's built the Clemson brand, but he should consider it. At least be open to the idea. Obviously, he's built something good there, but why not? Bring over your staff. Then it's just a quick transition over to just do your recruiting from Norman, other than from Clemson. But I mean, we'll see. Those I think those 4 names are the only ones that aren't leaving. And Mel Tucker and James Franklin not leaving is simply just because they just got huge and long extensions last week or 2 weeks ago, and they're not leaving. Like, the prospect of leaving to them wasn't appealing enough, or they got enough money that they're not gonna jump ship. But yeah, I mean, it's hopefully we get a coach before early national signing day. And I know it's a quick turnaround, but that coach is also going to need to do some quick turnarounds with filling out his staff and easing the minds of the recruits and their families, and sticking with their commitment to Oklahoma. And personally, I think Aranda's that guy, especially with his ties. I mean, he is from Southern California, so he could help with the West Coast recruiting.
Yeah, I feel like we could keep talking about this, and there's so many different emotions and different thoughts and potential. I feel like we're going to be pushing out a lot of videos this week as more information comes out and reactions and providing information for you guys. There's so much unknown. There's some level of excitement though of the unknown that potentially this could actually be a blessing in disguise. It's tough to really think that right now, but we might get the next great, all around coach, great defensive mind, and this program might take the next step over the next few years. You just never know. Or it could be, you know, it could really hurt. It could be a tumble for a little bit. But the brand going to the SEC, the support, I feel like the Sooners are going to figure it out. They're going to be all right. It's tough because you always felt like we were really close. But I think that's all I've really got on all of this stuff. It's just a lot of unknown and a lot of information that we're going to be processing and trying to get you guys more videos. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah. Last thing I got to say is in Joey C, we trust. That guy will take this program in the right direction and getting us a new head coach. But if you made it this far, you're awesome. Thank you again for watching. We really appreciate it. Make sure you go hit like, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about Bedlam, your wish list for coaching prospects. And if you want to shit on Lincoln, why not? We're all for shitting on Lincoln for a couple of days. But let's not forget that he did bring some good stuff to the university and did take our program to new heights that we hadn't been to in a while. So, pros and cons. Let's just go ahead and move on. But thank you all for watching again. We really appreciate it. We'll see you next time.